Hello, and welcome to an intro to Anthro with two humans. I'm human number one, John McCray.
And I'm human number two, John Lehr.
And this is a podcast where we reassess what it means to be human. And the title of this episode is Obedience and Authority from Shock the Monkey to Jailhouse Rock. And John, we're going to be talking about obedience and authority and why people do what other people tell them to do and the moral cost of blind obedience.
And I should probably say and announce, I am extremely obedient.
Just all around? Just
everything,
all around?
in every way. If you tell me to do something, I'll do it.
Why do you think that? Why is that?
Well, I don't want any trouble because I've had trouble. I've been in jail. Once you've been incarcerated in any way, you realize this really sucks, and I don't want to have anything. But that said, I'm still terrified of a cop, even though I don't do anything wrong. Whenever I see a cop, I'm terrified.
Were you that way before you went to jail, or did you always?
You tell me. I mean, I think I was a little bit more crazy, but I don't know. Yeah. I did a lot of illegal things. That's for sure.
I know that, but as far as like following, I mean, there was like illegal things, but as far as like following rules, did you still, like, if someone told you, like an usher or something, it was like, sir, you can sit down or something, you would just...
Oh, I'd do it. Yeah. Any sort of authority tells me what to do, I'll do it. I'll never cut at a buffet line. I have a friend who goes, when there's a buffet line, they'll go in the back of the buffet line. Do you know what I'm saying? They'll go on the other side.
Oh, no. That's the worst thing.
And they argue that, oh, no, that's what it's for. That's what you're supposed to do. And I'm like, no, you're not. If that's the case, why are you the only one doing it? But I got to say, it does make sense. Why aren't we going down both sides?
Yeah. But the thing is, you can't be the first person. You got to take other people with you. You got to be
Once
like, sure,
why don't you to rush the man? Then I'll join in.
Well, this is going to be good to have you here because what we're going to discuss, obedience, you'll be a good person that we can bounce some things on.
I'm your resident lemming.
Yeah. Well, I have to ask, I mean, if we were ever in a situation where someone in authority told you to do something horrible to me, like shock me, or like, you have to shoot him.
I have shocked you. Well, I haven't shocked you, but I've seen you shocked in the past.
Right, which we will get to. Get to. Yeah.
That's so funny. No, I mean, I think the unreasonable stuff, I think my kids have actually changed me quite a bit because I will stand up for them. Yeah. So, but yeah.
So you would do that for me, huh? If somebody was like,
you gotta I would do it. I would do it. I'd like to think I would. I think we'd all like to think we would.
Right.
That we wouldn't have, joined with the Nazis, that we wouldn't have, done those things. And I don't, it's like, well, a lot of people did.
Right.
A lot of people did.
That's another interesting point you bring up, which you're going to be a perfect person to discuss this with, this topic with.
Okay.
I just want to say, I think this topic about obedience and authority is going to become more relevant in the next couple of years for us as a society and as a nation, because I think there's a lot of questionable things going on out there right now.
The nationalist movement is like, the white nationalist movement is, it's like, it definitely has the vibe of a mob sort of like mentality in some respects.
Right.
Jump on the bandwagon,
And you see, like, with the ICE raids and with the extrajudicial naval attacks in the Caribbean, and the Doge firings, there's a lot of just morally and legally questionable things. Yeah. And then I think it was last week you had some Democratic politicians who released a video. They were all veterans, but they had said, as an active service member, you don't have to obey a legally invalid order or an illegal order. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And that's made this current president and the current, Secretary of Defense very angry.
Yeah.
But I think, when I think there will be a moral reckoning coming up in the next few years. And I can almost guarantee you that at some point in the future, we're going to hear people who were involved in these activities say something like, I was just following orders.
Yeah, for sure.
Or I was just doing my job.
Right.
And I think it will behoove us all to have some knowledge of like the research that's gone into what actually happens when we obey orders. So we can better understand what happened and better understand what
your philosophy is that if we know why we follow orders or don't follow orders, then we'll be able to prevent it if the opportunity arises.
Right. Okay. And be able to understand when people make that, we may not forgive them, but we'll be able to like make a better moral decision, I guess, when people make that like, I was just following order. They told me to do that. I had to do it.
Right.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at two very famous psychology experiments. And the first one is Stanley Milgram's obedience to authority study from 1961 to 62, and Philip Zimbardo's Stanford prison experiment.
Oh boy. Here we go.
In August 1971.
I wondered how long it would take us to get to that one.
Right. We're getting there. We are there. We have arrived. And both of these experiments revealed a lot about humans' relationship to authority. But they also both had some very serious problems and flaws from like a methodological standpoint.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss those later. But first, I just want to say discuss where this topic idea came from.
Oh.
And if you remember, John, back in our gambling episode.
Yes.
Episode 76, Come On, Daddy Needs a New Pair of Shoes. You brought up an incident that we had back in our 20s when we were playing poker one night at a friend's house.
Yes. That I will never forget that. Should I?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
We were playing poker, and the host of the poker, it was a regular game, fairly regular, and the host of the poker game that week had a new puppy, a new dog.
Yeah.
And they decided to train the dog with an electric collar.
Yeah.
And then it had a remote control and it had 5 levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so we decided, hey, let's incorporate the collar into the game. So if you wanted one card, you'd have to take it. You'd play normally, but I guess if you wanted an extra card, you could take a 1, you could take a 2, get 2
for
cards.
your discard. If you wanted 3 cards, you had to take a shot going up to 3.
To 3, exactly. And I believe you took was it a 5?
I think I took a 5. I always say I won't do anything to a dog that I wouldn't do to myself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, Jesus. But I saw you take a 5 or whatever it was. Jesus.
I was sober at that time too, which makes you realize.
That makes total sense to me. Being newly sober where you're just crazy. You're crazier than you were when you were drinking.
Yeah. I was like, give it to me.
That's exactly
Is that all you got?
Said.
Is that all you got?
And it was so interesting that moment before he pressed the button, looking at him because he had the remote control. The dealer pushes the 5, and you're just standing there holding on to this dog collar. Oh my God! If poker needed to be more intense, that certainly did it. God.
Yeah, because they were just inflicting pain. They were like basically torturing the other person.
Yes.
And in our gambling episode, you mentioned that it wasn't so much the person who was getting ready to receive the shot. It was like watching the face of the person who had to deliver the shot.
Yes, that was the most interesting part to me. I was focused on our friend Tom, who was doing it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And who's the sweetest guy in the world and didn't want to do this.
I know.
But he happened to be the dealer.
Rules are rules. If you want 3 cards or 5 cards, you have to,
But I think it was good for him to shock you because he'd been using it on the dog and to see. I think it was educational for all of us.
Right. So anyway, that was what we discussed in the gambling episode. And in that episode, I made a mistake in my response to you.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
And I said that this reminded me of the classic psychology experiment in which students played prison guards and they could give other students electrical shocks if they disobeyed.
You were combining two different... Right. Yes. Right.
So I had a feeling when I was saying, and I went back and listened to the episode, and I said at the time, I feel like I'm conflating two things here.
Yeah.
But you know how when you once you start speaking out of your ass, sometimes you just got to go for it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Got to clear the canal.
Yeah, damn the torpedoes! I just got to keep talking. And so, it reminded me of when years ago I had a greeting card company with our friend Jeff.
Yes.
And we had one of the cards we had.
Jeff, by the way, designed the T-shirt you're wearing.
Right. This is the official and intro to Anthro T-shirt that I'm wearing.
It's a very good T-shirt.
Yeah, I know the holidays are coming up. If anybody's
lovely
to get some gifts,
lovely.
But anyway, we had one where it was a drunk guy sitting at a dinner party, and the caption said, "A complete gentleman. Dave decided to sit back and let his alcohol do the talking." And so that's kind of like, when it's wrong, but you just can't stop. You just got to keep talking.
Yeah. Oh, many times.
But fortunately, we have some of the smartest, funniest, and I guess I would say most attentive and well-read listeners.
Our listeners are wonderful.
Right. And so our listener, Eric P., wrote into our Facebook to untangle the mess that I had created in the episode.
Thank you, Eric P.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah. And I don't know if Eric is an academic, if he's an anthropologist or archaeologist or an actor or improv artist.
We have a few anthropologist listeners out there.
I know. Yeah. And I don't really. He may be like a retired Jeopardy champion.
We don't know. We come from we're a patchwork quilt.
Right. But we all pitch in when we need to.
Yeah. It takes a village to keep a podcast going.
And that's what Eric did. And those of you who follow us on Facebook have probably seen Eric will write in and give us extra information.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. About our episodes, which always enhances my understanding of it. It's always like really good information.
He's like the one who should be your co-host. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I didn't want to say anything. Eric, come on in. Eric, come on in. Eric is there. John, if you could just say goodbye to everybody.
We should have Eric on and have him if he'd like to audition to replace me, because he already has done more for this podcast than I have. Although he's got to learn the technical side. There's a whole back end.
Yeah, you're not just a pretty face out there in LA. You're like not just for your looks. So anyway, what Eric did is after the gambling episode, he wrote in to say, and this is Eric writing on the Facebook, quote, "The two experiments that got a little jumbled together in this episode," which is a nice way, Eric, thank you, of saying you screwed up. You got two.
Yeah, very kind. Very kind.
The two experiments that got a little jumbled together in this episode are the Stanford prison experiment, and he gave a link to some information on that, and the Milgram experiment. And he gave a link for that. And then he said, though they're different in a lot of ways, they both show the darker sides of unchecked authority. Not sure if there's another whole episode in that, but it was an interesting aside in this one. So, yeah. So first of all, Eric.
See, Eric, when you make a little aside like that, Professor McCray picks right up, and now suddenly he's purchasing like 30 books and doing an episode on that.
Right.
You guys should see. We should send a picture of your conveyor belt at your home. Professor McCray on a shelf in his home has you'll see 8 stacks of books, and those all represent an episode.
Right.
And so he's working on all of them, chiseling away at them.
Yeah,
and,
it's different stages, and as soon as one goes up, then the piles scoot. It's almost like playing volleyball when you're going like the serving line.
When you have to rotate.
Yeah.
Unless you're the bolero, or who's the one that doesn't rotate? My daughter played that position. There's bolero. A position where you don't have to rotate.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the one in the center, or is it?
Yeah, they wear a different jersey. Anyway, I'll post it when I find it. Okay. Yeah, I'll ask Eric, could you help us with this?
Yeah. Eric, what's a bolero? So, Eric, thank you for writing in to straighten that out. And also, if like Professor Lehr has said, you give us a challenge. Can we make a whole episode out of this?
Oh,
we can't let that go. We're like,
when we say we, of course, we mean Professor McCray.
Right.
Just so things are very clear.
We have an episode coming up, John, on suicide, which our friend Mike has sent in.
Very.
And
serious.
I'm still looking at that one's going to be challenging from a comedy standpoint. But,
it is. Except I have a little gold nugget for you.
Do you?
And I'll try to find it. I did at age 15 a public service announcement.
I forgot about that. That's why you're on this show. Is that you can pull for real life.
Can Eric pull that out of his ass? I don't know.
It was
I did a teenage suicide public service announcement for Channel 41, our local. What was that? Independent station? I don't know.
It was like a UHF, I think, right? Yeah.
Nobody knows what that means anymore.
But I remember that would play it a lot. Did you get residuals for that? Any money for that?
No, of course not. And they didn't. Everybody thought I was because people can't. You see it on TV. It's real. I mean, that's what the whole unscripted industry is based on. And so everybody thought that John, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. No, I'm acting. You sure you're okay? They'd look at me like,
Yeah. There's a suicidal guy. They just put a camera on him. Put a camera on him. Don't help him. Don't say anything. Don't ask how he's doing. Just follow him around. You were like out by the docks or something, right? Like
no, it was out by the lake, Shawnee Mission Lake, or what was that lake?
Yeah.
Where we used to smoke weed there out of your Matador. That was a great car.
So did you?
No, was it a Matador or what?
No, it was a
Dodge.
No, it was a. Was it a Comet? No, it wasn't a Comet.
Dart?
Ford Falcon.
Falcon.
I had a Ford Falcon.
God, that was a good car.
3 on the tree.
Love that car.
Knocked your teeth out that one time. Remember
I knocked my tooth out on the chrome. Then some genius designer decided to put chrome trim around the top of the seat. And I was laughing and just knocked my front tooth out. Well, we were headed to go camping, but we kept on camping. That was
we kept on camping.
We
kept on laughing too after your tooth.
I just kept drinking and I was fine.
Yeah. So we'll say, but I was thinking that one, I'm still like, it's an important part of being human, suicide.
Yes, it is.
But I'm like trying to find the comedy angle. It's going to be a challenge, but somebody sends it in to us.
Yeah. I say do it. I think it's great. Yeah. I got some good suicide jokes I'll throw out there. Yeah, I got it.
We'll add a laugh track to it. We'll add a laugh track. Pump it up a little bit. But anyway, Eric, here is your episode on the Stanley Milgram and Stanford prison experiments. Oh. And Eric, just so you know, we're going to be reaching out to you by Facebook to get your mailing details.
Yes.
So we can send you out.
Come and stay for a weekend.
Get ready, Eric. It could be sooner than you think. But we will be, after our suicide episode, we shall have any place to go after that.
We got to get somebody. No, but we'll get his address to send him a thank you gift.
Right. We have some gifts. We have friendship bracelet and some socks and a nice little note.
I'm having trouble finding all of my garb. I think my kids are, because I put my, I'm not.
God, I hope your kids are wearing it, trying to make it look cool at college.
My coffee cup, I'm missing that. It's like, fuck. Anyway, I'll find it. Don't worry.
So anyway, Eric, thank you.
Thank you.
We go.
Yeah.
Lights down. And
we bring you to.
Okay, so the first experiment we're going to look at is Stanley Milgram's obedience experiment that took place from 1961 to 62. And I should mention that Stanley Milgram is also in 67, which was after his obedience experiment, he did something called the Small World experiment that investigated social networks. And Milgram had random people across the country try to connect with a target person in Boston. And remember, this was before the internet.
Right.
So they were trying to get like a card to someone they didn't know in Boston. So a random person in the Midwest trying to get from like Nebraska, trying to get a card
to
just
somebody. Put it in the mail. What I don't understand.
Well, that wasn't the purpose of the experiment. It was trying to figure out how many links it would take.
Oh, I see. You give it to people who give it to people who give, like LinkedIn, just like LinkedIn, the networking. I like LinkedIn, by the way. I endorse that social media. Yeah,
I'm on there, but I hardly ever check it.
I know. I tag you on all the posts when I post Intro to Anthro on there. I like it. Okay. I like LinkedIn. I think it's cool.
But this was before LinkedIn.
Right.
So this was, you were trying to make it, they were trying to see like how connected people really are.
That's
and how large the world is. And what they found out was that most people could reach the target person within 6 or fewer connections.
This is 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. That's what this is.
That's where 6 degrees of separation was from Stanley Milgram's Small World experiment.
Really?
Even though he never used that term, but that's where we get it, was from Milgram trying to
so is he arguing that we're all connected through 6 degrees? We can connect with anybody on the world through 6 degrees?
It's not. I mean, that was the average it took. But basically, sometimes the person, I don't think anyone ever actually knew. The target person was so random, they never actually knew the person in Boston.
Right.
But sometimes it would be like 2 or 3 connections. Sometimes it would be 6. Sometimes it would be more. But again, it was trying to say something about social networks, that the world really isn't that large. And we'll have to do like a full episode on it, because I just came across it. I didn't know he was part of the Small World experiment, but it was amazing stuff.
Yes.
And that's where we get 6
now
degrees.
Now we're all connected and realize it's a prison of our own making.
Now you wish you
Stanley. Thank you, Dr. Milgram.
Now with the internet, it's like everybody's just one link away from just telling
anybody.
Anybody what they want or what they think of them.
His name is Milgram?
Milgram.
Because there used to be a grocery store chain called Milgram's in Kansas City, maybe around the world. I wonder if he was part of the Milgram family.
It was just Kansas City, but I think he probably was related to him.
Yeah,
that's kind of unusual.
One
of my brother's best friends was my brother David. He had a best friend who was related to the Milgram family.
So there's 3 degrees right there. 3 degrees.
We could we'll do it again, and we'll try it. We'll try old fashioned. We'll try to get some random person to do it.
I like it.
But anyway, in the early 1960s, Milgram was investigating obedience to authority.
Mm-hmm.
And in a 1974 article titled "The Dilemma of Obedience," Milgram discussed his experiment. And he started out by explaining that obedience is as basic an element in the structure of social life as one can point to. Some system of authority is a requirement of all communal living. And we kind of discussed that when we did our Utopia episode of you have to have some rule. If you have everybody just doing their own thing, it's not going to work.
Somebody's got to be in charge. Communism in its purest form is chaos. Nothing's going to get done.
You need those. Everybody has to agree that those yellow lines we don't cross those.
Right.
In the center of the road.
In the center of the road. There are certain things, rules that we have to follow.
Just to make this thing work.
Yeah.
To make the machinery work.
You cannot go up and poop on somebody's car.
Right.
Well, I mean, you can. Oh, God, I was just in New York and I saw a guy poop on the street.
Oh, God.
God,
whole thing, you saw the...
I love that city, though. I love New York City.
You saw the train coming out of the roundhouse? The whole thing? Yes.
He did it right. Oh, my God. It was during holiday shopping. It was just terrible. I happened to look at it. I turned away as soon as I did, but it was too late.
That's where you have to have restrooms that people can use. You know what I mean? That's
got to.
Anyway, so then Milgram... just public restrooms. Milgram then notes that, quote, conservative philosophers argue that the very fabric of society is threatened by disobedience. And even when the act prescribed by an authority is an evil one, it is better to carry out the act than to wrench at the structure of authority.
Oh, God.
So that's and he cites Thomas Hobbes, the philosopher, who then said, an act so executed is in no sense the responsibility of the person who carries it out, but only of the authority that orders it. So the conservative view, you got to just follow orders.
Yeah.
Just be obedient.
Command structure, and that's it.
Right.
Do what you're told, which is how I behave.
Right.
And I got to say, it's worked out pretty good.
You haven't been to jail again, I guess.
I have not been in jail, but I always get screwed over. People cut in front of me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always, I get screwed a lot. I'll give you an example. I was in line in Chicago in the security line, the TSA line. And there was a guy behind me who was late to his flight.
Right.
Now, there's no way he was going to make his flight. I knew that. Have I mentioned this before?
I think you've mentioned in our like public behavior episode, but let's have it again.
It's hard for me to remember our private life versus our public life. But anyway, all I'm saying is the guy was right on my ass, right inside my bubble, and there was no way we weren't going to get anywhere. So I let him cut in front of me.
Yeah,
and he got 2 feet ahead. But what do I care?
He just keeps doing that, and
just
more
let people cut in front. Who cares?
What's the rush?
I mean,
for all this?
Just let him cut.
So then Milgram says that the humanists, argued that the moral judgments of the individual must override authority when the two are in conflict. So they're saying if somebody tells you to do something and that creates a moral conflict, then you should disobey that.
Yeah.
So Milgram says he came up with a simple experiment in which a person is told to carry out a series of acts that would come increasingly into conflict with their conscience. So that's what the purpose of the experiment was.
God.
And he then says that the main question in the experiment was, quote, how far a participant would comply with the experimenter's instructions before refusing to carry out the actions required of him.
Okay. Yeah, Milgram was one dark guy, man. Is he still alive? Probably not.
No, he died early, in the early 80s, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I guess he was like, I'm not going into the grocery business. I want to be a psychologist. And this is what he did. So in 1961, Milgram, he was a psychology professor at Yale University.
Well.
So he put an ad in the New Haven, Connecticut paper asking for volunteers to participate in an experiment on memory and learning.
Okay.
And for their participation for 1 hour, the volunteers would receive $4 plus 50 cents for car fare.
Wow.
Which I guess 1961, that's pretty good money.
That's pretty good.
$4.
Yeah.
$4.50.
What do you think that is now? 50?
I don't know. But people really jumped on it, I guess.
Yeah.
People were like, $4 for an hour?
Yeah.
Plus car fare? I'll walk over.
Take it. Yeah. Give it to me. I'll do it. What are they going to do? What's the worst they can do?
Right. So when they arrived, the volunteers were, quote unquote, randomly assigned the role of teacher or learner.
Okay.
And the teacher would be giving the questions and the learner would be giving the responses.
Okay.
They were then told that the learner had to memorize a list of word pairs.
Oh, God. I would hate that job.
I know.
Just random word pair. Apple. Car.
Yeah. They had to learn. The learner had to learn that word pair. And if they made any mistakes, the learner would receive electrical shocks of increasing severity.
Holy shit. Here we go.
Yeah.
This was made famous in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I think it was, right? At the beginning of the Ghostbusters. And there was an experimenter present as well, which I'm assuming it was like wearing a lab coat.
They always wore those lab coats, yeah.
So then the teacher watched as the learner was hooked up to a bunch of electrodes in one room. Okay, so he's like, they're hooking it up to all of his chest and his hands and everything. And then the teacher was then taken into another room where he could no longer see the learner. And the teacher was then seated in front of a panel with a row of switches that went from 15 volts all the way up to 450 volts, which obviously would be fatal in 15-volt increments.
Wow.
And apparently I read there were also signs on the panel at different parts on the row of switches that would say things like slight shock and then like danger, severe shock. Okay. So again, the teacher couldn't see the learner. They could only communicate through a microphone and speaker. And then the teacher proceeded to ask the learner the series of questions, the word pairs. And each time the learner got a question wrong, the teacher would push the button or flip the switch that would administer a shock, increasing the voltage as they went along.
Were they told to, like by the lab person? They'd say, you need to hit the next switch.
Right, exactly. And if they kind of hesitated, the lab person would give them a prompt like, please continue with the experiment.
So that's the real experiment happening in there between those two.
Right, exactly. So at a certain point, the teacher could hear the learners start to express discomfort. Then actual pain, grunting and groaning. And then by the time they reached 450 volts, the learner didn't respond at all.
So dark.
Yeah. So what the teacher didn't know, and you brought it up, is that the learner, the person who was being shocked, was actually part of the experiment.
Yeah, an actor. Now, I would have liked to play the learner, I guess. If I didn't have to memorize the pair of words, I'd love to go, oh, God! Oh!
Yeah.
I could do it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he would be good. They got some guy who I don't think he was even an actor. He was like some floor salesman or some salesman or somebody they brought in to play the random learner.
Why?
But the thing is, it wasn't testing memory or learning, but it was testing people's willingness.
I can't believe we get a salesman. Why not? Yale has a wonderful acting school.
I know. I'll have to look it up.
They'd probably overdo it. Young actors. Oh my goodness!
But forsooth,
that hurts my body.
That pains my heart as a forbidden love or something, But I don't know if he was I'll find it. I'll post it on there. But he was just some guy. They have a picture of him like he was brought in
to know a little bit more about his background. And can I bring up one other concern?
Yeah,
I just had this crazy thought. What if I'm in a sociological experiment right now that you're running on me and I don't know it?
Please continue with the experiment, John. So that's what they would do. And the whole purpose of it was, I mean, he wasn't actually being shocked,
right?
But it was to create a moral dilemma for the teacher.
Jesus.
And that moral dilemma was, should you continue to apply increasing shocks to the learner, even though you know that you are causing them pain? And in the case of going all the way to 450 volts, it appeared that you could have killed him. Right. Because there was no more response from them.
How many people went all the way? Like, what are the numbers?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Milgram said he tested 40 participants.
Okay.
And he said 65% of them administered the maximum voltage.
Jesus, you are so screwed.
Yeah.
We are so screwed. 65% went all the way
65%.
to death.
Yeah, and that was for his baseline experiment. And in his article that he wrote, and also he later put it into a book, he found that, quote, many subjects will obey the experimenter no matter how vehement the pleading of the person being shocked, no matter how painful the shock seemed to be, and no matter how much the victim pleads to be let out.
Oh my God, we're so screwed.
So, yeah.
We should be annihilated. I just decided. The human race. This is, oh my God.
Yeah. So that was his baseline. I mean, there's also a book in 2024 that came out by Emilie Caspar, who's a Belgian neuroscientist, and it's called Just Following Orders, Atrocities and the Brain Science of Obedience. And as part of her own research, Caspar says that in the early 2010s, she conducted an experiment that was similar to Milgram's. And she said that she paid volunteers 0.05 euros, which I guess would be about 3 cents, to administer real shocks to volunteers. So they were actually, she was paying people to administer real shocks.
But they were paying her pennies.
I know. It's like 3 cents. 3 cents to painfully
people?
shock.
Are they homeless? Are they, are they destitute? Like, who would do that for 3 cents? What's going on?
College students, I guess. I mean, I read one thing. I read one thing that said, like, when we talk about human behavior and studies about human behavior, it was a great quote. I can't remember who it was from, but it said, we're actually talking about the behavior of college sophomores, or more particularly college sophomores in psychology classes who must, do experiments for extra credit.
Right, who have to fulfill the. That's so funny.
Yeah. So any of these studies, just remember it's college students that we're basing all of our conclusions on.
It's a limited sample.
Yeah. But Caspar says, and this was a quote, she goes, over the last 8 years, I have given 45,000 orders to individuals to administer a real painful electric shock to someone else. Only about 1,340 orders were refused, which is roughly 2.97%.
Oh my God.
In other words, she says, only about 54 individuals out of 1,500 refused an order to hurt another person.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Caspar then, her book is interesting, and I wish I had more time. I was trying to get into it, and we just don't have time to it. But she took a portable EEG, an electroencephalograph, out into the field to places like Rwanda and Cambodia, where genocides had occurred and atrocities had occurred. And she found that the perpetrators almost always blamed someone else for their actions, for giving them the orders to kill other people. For example, they would blame bad government, like, oh, it was a bad government told us to do this or told us we had to do this. Or they would say that they were just following orders. And what Caspar found was that using the EEG, she found that the empathy-related regions of the brain were less active when people obey orders compared to when they're acting freely.
But what's the causation? Or is it just that people who have less empathy are attracted to being in positions where they follow orders, which would make sense?
Yeah, I don't know.
If I didn't have any empathy or limited, if my empathy wasn't overly developed, I think I would make a better police officer.
Right. Or definitely a torturer or someone who...
Yeah, or even an infantryman, because like you got to just fucking do it.
Yeah. She was, I mean, it's not really what she was looking, I don't think it was causation, but it was just trying to figure out what goes on in the brain.
Yeah. Right.
When we follow those orders. But what you're saying, and it makes sense what you're saying, is if you had less empathy, you would probably stay in a position like that.
Yeah, you'd be attracted to those kinds of positions.
Right.
Because, if you had more empathy, you don't want to be in those positions. So those jobs open up, those positions open up for people who have less empathy.
Yeah. I think that like that's an interesting. We may have to come back to her book because she does go into detail about that. But what she says is that using all of that, she goes, "quote We indeed observed that brain activity, notably in the anterior cingulate cortex and the anterior insula, and these are both areas associated with social behavior, empathy, and emotion." Caspar found that activity was reduced when the participants obeyed orders compared when they freely decided. So
obeying the orders themselves diminish your ability to empathize.
Right. In the brain itself, in the parts of the brain that give you empathy. God. Yeah, that was her conclusion. Wow. That there's just saying, well, I'm just following orders reduces that activity and that empathy related part of your brain and allows you to do what you
follow, the less empathetic you are.
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Probably. So getting back to Milgram, he actually tried variations on this experiment where the teacher was the one who actually hooked up the learner. Or the experimenter. The experimenter was in another room and told the teacher to continue the experiment by telephone.
Okay. I wonder why he wouldn't put the person being shocked within eyesight. Why audio?
I think it was because they weren't really being, like, if you saw them, the actor would have to be really good at that point.
He didn't have good actors. But they should have gone to the Yale theater department. Renowned. I mean,
Yeah.
They would have found some sophomores in there who could have acted like they were shocked.
Maybe they would have been recognized or something. It's like, but that, I think that's the reason why they did it. They didn't want to have it. It was just through pounding on the wall. I guess at one point, like
it's easier
learner,
right.
So Milgram found that the proximity to the authority figure or the victim actually affected obedience. In other words, the teachers were more likely to disobey and not administer the painful shocks if the experimenter was not actually present.
I agree with that. If I was on the phone, I think I'd have a much easier time disobeying.
Yeah, or you'd be like, okay, I'll give it to him, and then you'd hang up, and then
okay. Can I get my $4 and my quarter for a ride home now?
Right. And I think people do that at work too. Like if your boss is there telling, like, oh, you got to deny something, or you got to treat customers this way. You have to do it, but if your boss isn't there, then you have a little more room to be like, hey,
because you won't be caught. Although nowadays we'd be caught. Everything is monitored.
Right. So Bruce Eckman, in a 1977 article on the Milgram experiment, notes that 35% of the teachers disobeyed when the learner was in another room, and his pounding on the wall was the only direct feedback from the learner to teacher.
Jesus.
Eckman then says bringing the victim into the same room, which is what you're talking about, with the teacher, up the disobedience to 60%.
So it did. That makes sense. Yeah, the empathy spikes when they're close to you.
Right. And then he says when the teacher was required to force the learner's hand onto an electric plate that was supposed to give the shock, like you physically had to touch them and put their hand on it.
No one would do it.
Well, 70%, 30% still did.
But I get that if they're in your proximity, you become more empathetic because you're becoming more intimate. It's like Cheney being anti-LGBTQ until his daughter was gay. Then he changed.
Right.
Or Reagan, with the stem cells, anti-stem cells until you need one. Then it's a different ballgame. Yeah, it just makes it closer to you. Yeah.
Right. And then suddenly you have more of a moral responsibility in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Emilie Caspar also notes about Milgram's experiment that when the experimenter told the teachers that they personally would be held responsible for any damages in case the learner sued, that they found that the teachers became less obedient.
Yeah. Jesus. That's even darker than the first part of the experiment.
I know. But when they were told that the psychology department would assume any responsibility if they were sued, then
all bets
obedience
are off.
went up again. Yeah.
Oh my fucking God. Yeah, we're disgusting creatures.
I know.
We really are.
So Milgram says his conclusion was, quote, the most fundamental lesson of our study is that ordinary people simply doing their jobs and without any particular hostility on their part can become agents in a terrible, destructive process.
Oh, yes, they can.
And one of the reasons why this experiment really hit home in the early 1960s is that it was happening at the same time as the Adolf Eichmann trial in Israel.
Right.
And Eichmann was one of the Nazi officials who was responsible for the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. And during his trial, what many observers found so disturbing about Eichmann was that he didn't seem like a monster. He just seemed like a bureaucrat, like a paper pusher.
Yeah.
And during his trial, Eichmann kept saying over and over again that he was just following orders.
Right.
Just following orders. And watching the Eichmann trial, that led historian and philosopher Hannah Arendt to coin the term the banality of evil.
Huh.
And meaning that what is so terrifying in genocides and other mass atrocities is not the perpetrators being so evil.
Right.
But they seem so normal.
Right. We love movies when we know the bad guy. He's bad,
Right,
he's bad and he deserves it. And in many ways, the Nazis have become that for movies. They're the ultimate bad. But how evil really shows itself is just kind of boring.
Right.
It's happening.
Yeah.
And we never have this big explosive climax where we realize it. And that's what scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I'm never going to know it till it's too late.
Right. And that's what they're all just doing a little part of doing their job, just that little part of their job.
Yeah.
Following orders, and they're not taking any moral responsibility for what
Right.
And Milgram explained this all by saying that when you are in an authoritarian hierarchy, people enter into an agentic state, AGENTIC, an agentic state.
I would never, ever know what that meant if I would or be able to spell it. I'd say, could you use it in a sentence, please?
Yeah.
I need a definition.
Stanley Milgram feels that when we are in an authoritarian hierarchy.
Agentic.
Right. So let me explain. So he means that everyone feels that they are just being an agent carrying out the orders of someone else. That's what he means by agentic.
Oh, okay. No, that's not the right. It's agenty. Everyone feels agenty.
Right. So in other words, if you're just carrying out someone else's orders, you're not really responsible for the atrocious act.
Absolutely. I mean, that's all the people who were. I have a friend who, has gotten rich off of. He's not a friend, but he's somebody I know who's gotten rich off of fracking. And he considers himself a liberal, but he's made his money off of fracking and tobacco.
Right.
But for him, it's just like, look, all I did was
I gave them what they wanted. I gave them what they wanted.
I just made money off of the companies who sold it.
Right. And that's kind of it's the same process in a way of like the moral responsibility is being passed on to someone else. And
this is why corporations are not people's Supreme Court, because no one takes responsibility. No one has to. Nobody.
And it can go from the top down, according to Milgram. It's like the person who gives the order up top can say like, well, I may have given the order to kill a bunch of people, but I wasn't the actual one pulling the trigger.
That's like the mafia.
Right. And the person down below can be like, well, I pulled the trigger, but I wasn't the person who actually ordered all these people to be killed.
Yeah.
And so Milgram says there is a fragmentation of the act to the point where everyone can deny that they were responsible for it.
Yeah.
And the actual whole person who is responsible disappears.
Yes.
And so one thing that, there were some problem. The people came up with some critiques of Milgram's experiment.
Yeah.
And one was that it was unethical to put the teacher through the emotional turmoil.
Agreed.
Yeah. And another one was that you couldn't really generalize about the results outside of a laboratory. Like some people have said, well, it's really like obedience to science or obedience to an experimenter.
Yeah. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of moving parts in that.
And at the time, early 60s was science. And I think, if you look at like the movie, we had the atomic bomb, we had the space program.
Right.
I think people put in a lot of trust into the scientific community at that time.
Absolutely.
And so
if you wear one of those white coats, I'll let you stick your finger up my ass.
I know.
You know what I mean?
A clipper, a white coat.
What do I do? Bend over here?
Yeah. Remember, they used to wear those white coats. I remember working at a farmer's insurance or something in their big mainframe computer room.
Yes, my dad was the computer guy who wore one of those coats.
I know. Remember, they had to keep the room really cold because it was so much heat. Yep. So much heat being produced.
It's still a problem. Now Apple just released that phone with vapor coolant.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. The other critique was, what if, the people who were doing it knew that this was an actor? Like they knew that there's no way Yale would ever actually kill somebody for a volunteer. In that case,
they're like possible. A cynic, and they're just like, come on.
Right. That Yale would never do that. I'm just going to play along with it. And if they were playing along with it, then that kind of negates all the findings of it.
I guess, yeah. But you're not sure. I don't know. It says something about you.
I know. Well, the thing is, his experiment, people have like I say, Caspar has redone it. I mean, people repeated his experiment.
Yeah.
With similar results. The different degrees.
To me, the most interesting thing is just that a large group of people will hurt another human being when they're told to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll do it. More of them will do it if they think it'll benefit them.
Right.
Oh.
3 cents. 3 cents is all it takes to keep giving those shocks. So now we're going to move on, John. We're going to look at another famous experiment, which was the Stanford prison experiment.
Yes, very famous.
And this one actually happened in August 1971.
Okay.
And Philip Zimbardo, who was a psychology professor at Stanford University, decided to investigate the relationship between prisoners and guards to see how situations can override people's moral judgment.
Okay.
In other words, whereas Milgram was saying that people entered an agentic state that allowed them to commit atrocities, Zimbardo was saying that it was the situation that people were placed in that led them to commit evil acts.
I agree. I agree.
So if you were placed in the role of a prison guard, you would become abusive and sadistic. And if you were placed in the role of a prisoner, you would become meek and submissive.
Oh my! Yeah, because you don't want to get hit, and I'm meek and submissive all the time.
It's a situation. It's a situation.
Every situation is appropriate for me to be meek and submissive.
That's why you're so good to be here. Like listening to this, you can give your own personal experience.
But I won't speak out. Yeah, I won't speak out against your authority. Like, I'm not going to disagree with you.
Were you the type of employee, like, if they said something, you would be like, okay, you'd be, like, all into it, and then, like, when you got back to your desk, you'd be like, oh, that jerk.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what that jerk said.
But I'd still do it.
That's a difference.
God. It's amazing I've stayed alive this long.
So at the time in 1971, Zimbardo told an interviewer that he was, quote, interested in discovering what it means psychologically to be a prisoner or a prison guard. What changes does a person undergo in the process of adapting to that new role? Is it possible in the short time of only a few weeks to take on a new identity that is different than oneself.
Yeah, or reveal an aspect of oneself, right? Yeah.
Right.
Oh, my God.
So he then said, our research will attempt to differentiate between what people bring into a prison situation from what the situation brings out in the people who are there.
Oh, boy.
So it sounds pretty good so far. And he wrote a book in 2008, which was like 37 years after the experiment itself, called The Lucifer Effect: Understanding How Good People Turn Evil. And he said one of the dominant conclusions of the Stanford prison experiment is that the pervasive yet subtle power of a host of situational variables can dominate individuals' will to resist.
Yeah.
So again, it sounds really, and I have to say that Zimbardo, The Lucifer Effect is a great book. He has a lot of good points in it, but it's always when he's talking about someone else's research. So when you get into the details of his research, that your eyebrows, just something doesn't seem right. Something seems off about the Stanford prison experiment.
Interesting.
But the thing is, he then says at the time that the Stanford prison experiment showed how a range of research participants, other college student subjects, and average citizen volunteers alike have come to conform, comply, obey, and be readily seduced into doing things they could not imagine doing when they were outside those situational forces. And it makes sense.
Yes.
It makes sense when you hear it.
Yes.
And that's why I think that on the surface, that's why everybody always jumps it. Like the press loved this experiment because it seems like when you just hear it, you're like, oh yeah, that's how people would behave. They just become jerks when they're surrounded by other jerks.
Right. Right.
And it seems like it should be true. But then in a recent book by a French psychologist and documentary filmmaker named Thibault Letexier.
Oh my God.
He wrote a book called Investigating the Stanford Prison Experiment: History of a Lie. And this is the book that he wrote. And what Letexier did is he went and he looked at all of the archives at Stanford and the transcripts from the experiment itself. And he actually had gone into it. He wanted to look at, at the time of the experiment, they had actually filmed a lot of what was going on in the experiment. And so Letexier went in like a believer of it. And he said, as he looked at all of the documents, the actual, data, he began to realize there were some problems with this experiment. So remember, Zimbardo said that he wanted to test the effect of situation on the relationship between prison guards and prisoners.
Right.
So what he did was in August 1971, he put an ad in the Palo Alto, California newspaper asking for 20 volunteers, specifically male college students, for a psychological study of prison life. And for this
why male college students?
I don't know, because I mean, I think I read one thing where he thought they would be more if they were prisoners.
Trying to color his numbers.
Right. He's not looking at real prisoners or like a vast population.
Right.
He's looking at just male
college students,
which is one of the first problems. I'm glad you brought that up. But he said, the ad said that for 1 to 2 weeks worth of work, the volunteers would be paid $15 a day. Which was a lot of money back in 1970.
Oh, right. 71, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So then Zimbardo set up a prison in the basement of the Stanford University Psychology Department.
That's the part that blows me away. That they were allowed to build a prison set.
I know.
That I cannot believe.
And Letexier says that, quote, the doors of 3 offices were replaced with barred doors, and the 2 ends of the corridors serving these offices were sealed. So it is basically just the downstairs of the psychology. Like if you can imagine being in college.
They had to move a bunch of people out too.
I know, a bunch of, like probably the teaching assistants and stuff, grad students and everything had to move their offices.
Sorry, Keith, you're out.
Yeah. We're putting a prison in down here.
What?
So then Letexier says on the other side of the corridor opposite the cells was a small closet, which probably just like, a janitorial closet, that they labeled the hole. And the toilets were further down the hall, and the prisoners would be led there blindfolded.
Wow.
And Zimbardo then flipped a coin and randomly assigned the roles of prisoner or guard to the volunteers. And this is what's weird. Zimbardo himself decided that he was going to play the role of prison director. And one of his graduate students played the role of head guard. So again, here you have an experimenter
involved. The researchers are playing roles within this whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And so Zimbardo, in his book, The Lucifer Effect, he takes a lot of pride, and I would almost say even almost glee the way he writes it, like he's kind of titillated by like what they set up, like how realistic it was.
Jesus.
And he said that he decided that the best way to start this experiment was, quote, the ideal way to start the study most realistically and with dramatic flair would be for real police officers to stage arrests of the would-be mock prisoners.
What?
So on the Sunday morning that the experiment was supposed to begin, they had a real police car go to the volunteers' houses, that the ones that were going to be prisoners, and arrest them.
How did you get real police to do that?
I know.
This is a different time,
Yeah.
You can just say, hey, can you do me a favor? I need you to arrest
he goes into detail,
put him in a mop closet.
Yeah, he goes into detail in the book, his book even, where he says that the duty sergeant wasn't going to go along with it, but Zimbardo had brought along a TV camera from the local TV station.
There we go.
And had them turn it on and say, like, this is going to be, and then suddenly it was like, well, I guess if the TV's here,
Yeah.
So he's already manipulating it. So then Zimbardo says that, quote, as each of the blindfolded prisoners is escorted down the flight of steps in front of Jordan Hall, which was the psychology department, into our little jail, our guards ordered them to strip and remain standing naked with their arms outstretched against the wall and legs spread apart.
What?
So this is right when they arrived for this experiment. He's already got the guards like stripping them down.
My God.
And remember, he was supposed to be looking at what would happen with the situation, what would naturally happen. Yeah. And he's already told the guards that you have to strip the prisoners when they arrive. Right. And put them against the wall and make them stand there blindfolded.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And Zimbardo then says, still blindfolded, each prisoner is then given his uniform. Nothing fancy, just a smock, like a tan muslin dress, with numbers on front and back for identification. A woman's nylon stocking serves as a cap covering the long hair of many of the prisoners. It is a substitute for the head shaving that is part of the newcomer ritual in the military in some prisons. So again, he's setting it up. He's not allowing the prisoners and the guards to come to their own conclusion or their own actions to maintain order.
Yeah.
He set it up.
There's an authority. He's the one who's telling them to flick the switch. With the electricity. Right.
Exactly. And he says that the guards were given khaki military uniforms, and he's really proud of this fact. He also gave them mirrored sunglasses. And he even talks about that they were like those. Yeah, he says they were like the ones in the guards wore in Cool Hand Luke. Like he refers to a movie as his
movie. Great movie.
It's a great movie, but I don't know.
Eggs do you think you could eat?
I don't know. We should do it.
What if you had to eat 50 hard-boiled eggs or I was electrocuted? Do you think you could do it?
I would go for it. I'd try it. I know that. I probably only get like 4 or 5, but I get 4 or 5 down, and then I'd be like, yeah.
Me too.
Sorry,
I could do like 7, and then I just shock him. He'll be all right.
But Zimbardo says that those glasses allowed them to be de-individuated, like they could take away their individual personality, which I think you see a lot with like the ICE wearing the mask. You know, they like to put the mask on so they can't, but it's also not only so they can't be, identified, but it's a way to de-individuate. So again, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But then Zimbardo notes in his book that it took a while for the guards to get into their roles.
Huh.
Okay, so the guards actually were, when they first got there, they were like, wait a second.
This is weird. We're in the bottom of a sociology department. I don't want to. This was weird already when they were naked and their arms and legs were splayed.
I know.
You lost me there, Professor.
You have to see them up on campus. Yeah. So he says that a lot of the guards were feeling uneasy about the humiliation and degradation, like making the prisoners stand naked for a long time. So they were, it wasn't like they immediately were like transformed into sadistic guards. They were like, hey, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's just an experiment. What are we doing here? You know?
Yeah.
But Zimbardo then says that, quote, I made it evident that we wanted to create a psychological atmosphere that would capture some of the essential features characteristic of many prisons I had learned about recently. So again, he's telling them, like, he's the purpose of the experiment was supposed to try to figure out how these happen naturally, these situations. But he's already telling the guards, you have to be abusive to them, to the prisoners, because we're trying to make it realistic. And then at that point, it's like, well, what are we testing anymore? You know what I mean?
Right. You're coaching us.
Right.
But didn't the students who were guards, didn't they become even more than he thought? Like, didn't they become more intense?
Well, that's what Letexia is saying. You mentioned already. It was the coaching. Coaching of Zimbardo and his graduate student who was playing the head guard. Who kept getting on to the guards who were being too lax, who kept getting on to the guards who were just like, hey, this is, let's just try to get through this 2 weeks and get our $15 a day or whatever.
Weird.
Yeah. And so it was from the very, Letexia says, from the very moment they arrived, which we just saw, they were being coached by Zimbardo to be more sadistic. And
got it.
Another thing I just want to mention, in all of the, Letexia says, in all of the research or all of the, thousands of words that Zimbardo has written about this experiment, he only quotes 2 other books about prisons in his literary research. And one of them was Papillon, which we just read in our book club. So he's referring to Papillon, the book, which you and I read, and we were both like, this guy's full of shit. Papillon's just making this stuff up,
Yeah. And Papillon made it up, and Papillon probably deserved a lot of what he got. It seems to me, Papillon always talks about what a great guy he is. Everybody loves him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not buying it.
But it's strange. It's like, that's what one of the Letexia's thing is, like, he's not going out to real prison. And I guess there was some guy, a recently released prisoner, who was like the consultant to Zimbardo. And I think Zimbardo, they say, kind of got like, he was just like enamored with the guy, like telling these stories about prison life and stuff. But it reminds me of Papillon, just making up, making up shit.
That Cool Hand Luke and Papillon were his
literature review. Yeah.
So was there anything that came out of this experiment that was of value?
Well, this is the thing. Zimbardo, he said that, like, immediately things got out of control. Like, you read his report, like, it was out of control. Like, the prisoners barricaded themselves in their cells the first day. And I guess they were actually shouting, like, it's a fucking simulated experiment. So I'm sure they were like, it's an experiment. What are we doing? You're stripping us. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So they like shot them with a fire extinguisher to make them shut up.
Who shot who with the fire extinguisher?
The prison guards shot the prisoners with a fire extinguisher to make them stop yelling that it's just an experiment. It's just an experiment.
Oh my God.
So then Letexier also notes how Zimbardo writes in The Lucifer Effect that from the morning of the second day, he said, quote, already the boredom of tedious 8-hour guard shifts has driven the guards to entertain themselves by using the prisoners as playthings. So Zimbardo was saying that like after one day, a boring shift, the guards are already like using the prisoners to be, as playthings. And I'm like
what kind of playthings? Like what?
Well, just making them like do push-ups and stuff like that.
Oh, I see. Just sort of torturing them after one day.
And it's like Jesus. I've had a lot of boring jobs in my life, but I can't imagine like the very first day has already switched me into.
Well, there's one thing that I don't think you're taking into consideration. Have you ever talked to those kids who go to Yale and Harvard? Those people. I mean, is not. They're not normal kids. They're kids who all their life have had no fun and just worked on academics after school, and they do things just so it looks good on their resume. They've got like a 4.8. It's a different breed of people.
Yeah. So you think I still, but I'm just like Zimbardo like really makes a point of this. Like they're so bored after 8 hours that they're already like toying with the prisoners and everything. So
it seems like, it does. Maybe they were, I agree. It seems
it'd be like some work study at the library, so bored that suddenly you're like throwing books at like.
I imagine doing that stuff in my head all the time, but I don't do it in real life.
Right. But Zimbardo is like blown away. He's like, that's what like one of his major points is like within one day, they've already switched because of the situation.
Zimbardo.
And so then he says, by day 3, like some people are having nervous breakdown, like some of the prisoners are having nervous breakdowns and have to be released. And he says that by Friday of that week, he had to call the whole thing off. He had to like shut the experiment down because it had gotten so out of control.
Yeah, but isn't it just people are just tired of being kept in a room by a professor running a sociological experiment? I mean, they knew the whole time what was going on. There was never, it was role play. It wasn't real because nobody thought it was real. Nobody.
Right. And later
when crazy graduate student who just, went down some rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I've seen like archaeology students like lose their minds and have breakdowns after like day 3 of a, field school.
I would be. Yeah, we're not. I totally agree with that. I think being locked up in a sociological office in the basement for 3 days and having to wear pantyhose on my head, I want to get the hell out of there. I'd be like, this is stupid.
Like one of the guys Letexier interviewed said that he thought he thought, it'd be a great one. I'll be a prisoner and I'll just spend the next 2 weeks studying for my SAT test. And then he gets down in there and he's like, they're making them come out and do push-ups or they're like being sprayed with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, this is not a time to be prepping for your LSAT,
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's a very dramatic scene like on Thursday evening where Zimbardo's confronted by his girlfriend, who's I think she's like a doctoral student who was his student as well, but now is his girlfriend. And she's like, you got to shut it down, Phil.
Okay.
You got to shut it down. This is out of control.
So he
says
the fact that he's dating his student, that says a lot to me already.
Right. Yeah. So Zimbardo says that, it is in his book, it's like really dramatic when he writes it. Like when she confronts him about like, you got to shut it down, Phil. And this is like only 4 days after 4 days. And he says that he himself had become so lost in the reality of the situation, playing the prison warden, that he couldn't tell what was real. And it's like, when you're the experimenter, how are we supposed to take anything you say Seriously, since you've
Think they were
interjected
taking
yourself.
acid or anything? Like, was there any sort of indication? Because it is the early 70s.
I bet you there was. I bet you, like, I mean, we saw that with the one that the episode we did on, the monkey.
Yeah.
The experiments with the monkey at the same time. They were all getting
all
high.
on acid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Zimbardo later writes, quote, "By the end of the week, the experiment had become a reality, as if it were a Pirandello play directed by Kafka that just keeps going after the audience has left."
First of all, Pirandello hated Kafka. And if he had gotten some of his Stanford acting students involved.
Yeah. So, but you see how in his mind it's very dramatic.
Yeah.
Like you see how it's not very scientific.
No.
It's all written with like dramatic flair for attention.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that, that the experiment only lasted from Sunday morning to the following Friday afternoon. And at that point, again, he says that he's got to stop it. But then he's already got a press release that goes out the very next day discussing his findings.
Wow.
So it's like he hasn't even analyzed its data yet, and he's already got a press release. And the press release, again, one day after the experiment ended, said, "This has a message for prison reform. It shows the need for a change in psychological conditions that won't cost the taxpayer any money. People should be aware of the power of social situation over individual behavior."
Okay.
All right. And so, so
a press release
the next day. So it's not really being peer reviewed. It's all going to and the press loved it because, again, it makes sense when you hear it.
Yes.
It seems like it should be
fascinating too. And they had footage of it that it was so bizarre looking, those I've seen some of the footage.
It's dramatic. But Letexier says, there's everything in it. He kind of like he systematically favors the spectacular in the experiment, and everything was like biased. And like on the third day, Letexier says they forgot to take any notes. They didn't write any data down for the third day of the experiment.
Acid, I'm telling you. It's exactly the kind of thing that happens to a bunch of people taking drugs.
Right. And what's also interesting is Letexier says, because it was, and then everybody was like, it's so unethical. We can never repeat this. We can never do this again. So it can't be tested. It's like Zimbardo's experiment is the only time it's been done in a scientific college laboratory.
Yeah.
And it won't be done again. So it kind of gives Zimbardo cover to say whatever he wants about this.
So you're saying you and I should reenact it?
well, in 2002, there was a BBC reality show called The Experiment that did try to recreate it.
The BBC did some weird shit, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they've done some weird stuff.
It's a lot easier to pitch things over there, I guess. But what that reality show did is they found that, recreating the Stanford prison experiment, that the guards didn't automatically become sadistic and the prisoners didn't automatically become meek.
Right.
But that's the only time it's ever been like tested in that environment. And of course, Zimbardo immediately dismissed that as like not good science. That like the reality show was not
reality show. Whereas his press release was much more hard.
Right. But then right after, and like you said, a lot of the people who participated in it years later, Letexier interviewed them, and they were all like, "We knew it was an experiment. We were just trying to give the professor what he wanted."
Right. Which makes sense. I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Hoping that we would get this thing over with and I could go, up to the Greek sector of the school and get wasted, which is what a sophomore college student should be doing.
Right. Exactly. And they were all like, some of them were like, he would tell us how to act in a certain way. Like the guards were like, he told us how to act in a certain way.
Wow.
How he wanted us to be like really strict with the prisoners on one day and then the next day be more lenient with them.
Okay.
And so they would do what Zimbardo told them, and then Zimbardo would use that of like, oh, the guards are really strict on one day, and then
Oh, so the whole thing's a sham, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, that's Letexe's book. Kind of comes down to it. It's not science. It's like it's a demonstration.
Yes,
Is what people will say.
it's an art piece. It's like
Right.
It reminds me of
Performance
Chris
art.
Burden, who's an artist who allowed somebody to shoot him with a rifle. That's what he's famous. That's what he's famous for.
Right.
And he's like, this is art because it was intentional, to do it. And you look at it and you go like, okay. I mean, I guess somebody has to get shot. So they did the same thing there. But yeah, the fact that they need to zap the only way to do it, I think the way we should do ours is get a bunch of kids from college to be the prisoners.
Okay.
Get a bunch of hardcore, mean-ass jailer guys and one normal person. Put him in with those guys and see what happens with him when he tortures them.
Right. See if he changes, but don't tell him anything. Just let him go in there. Yeah. It's interesting you brought that up of it being like a performance art piece, because that's what a lot of people have compared it to. It's like it's a happening, which it was happening at the same time as like Chris Burden and all that LA type
I'm fascinated by that stuff. I'm a fan of all that stuff in many ways, but also there's a lot of, you just got to put it in the right context, I guess.
Right. And it's art. It's not science.
Right.
But Zimbardo is taking his performance art piece and saying this is science. Yeah. And so the reason why it became so huge and why people still talk about it is, first of all, the media loved it. Yeah. Like television and news loved it.
Yeah. Because
then after
there was footage. That's the main thing, I think.
And it makes sense. Again, it's kind of like barroom sociology. It's like, it makes sense when you hear it of like, oh yeah, that's what would happen. But then when you look at the data, it's not supported by what the conclusions are.
We're rejecting his entire process. Like his hypothesis, we're stamping it with a reject. Rejected.
Again, I don't know where to stand. I'm just saying it seems anecdotally, and from my experience of having worked in security and things.
Yes, you have.
It seems like it would work, that people would, there's an us against them mentality that people develop.
Cops sure seem to act that way.
Right. And that anecdotally, it seems that way, but it doesn't fit. You can't use the Stanford prison experiment data.
Right.
To support that. I think there needs to be another experiment done that is actually scientific and has controls. And
let's bring in a new doctor, a Dr. Zamboni this time.
Right.
See what he can do for us.
So I just want to say quickly that what happened is immediately after the experiment ended in August 1971, you had a riot at San Quentin prison. Whoa. And then you had Attica prison in upstate New York, I think it is.
Yeah.
And so immediately people were like, well, there's this doctor out in Stanford who's been doing this prison experiment. I saw it in the news. And so Zimbardo is flown to Washington to testify in Congress about prison reform, and then immediately becomes the expert for the rest of his life on prisons. And we're looking at it like, this was a flawed experiment from the very beginning, and now he's the guy who is lecturing people on how the whole environment of prison creates people to do things.
And that's why our prison system is so effective today.
I know. Just one last note really quick. Zimbardo and Milgram actually went to high school together.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah. And in the foreword to the 2009 reprint of Stanley Milgram's book, Obedience to Authority, Zimbardo wrote the foreword to it.
Wow.
And he says that they were classmates in the Bronx back in the late 40s, class of 1950. And he says that Stanley Milgram had been voted the smartest kid by their classmates, and Zimbardo had been voted the most popular.
Uh-huh.
And then Zimbardo, and this is weird, Zimbardo says, quote, "Little Stanley later told me when we met 10 years later at Yale University, that he wished he had been most popular, and I confided that I wished I had been the smartest. And by this time, like, Milgram is already dead. He died early of a heart attack, I think it was. So there's no way he can refute what Zimbardo is saying about him. But it's like, why would you call him Little Stanley?
That's weird.
Yeah.
But it does prove the original theory that we're all 6 degrees of separation.
Right.
Because either those two guys are 1 degree of separation.
I know, but I can only imagine if you, like, people you go to school with in high school, like if you're an actor and then you see somebody becoming, famous or something.
Yeah.
It kind of gets you. If for some reason that high school kind of, sticks with you.
Yeah.
And there's a little jealousy or something. You try to get, away from it.
Right.
But I'm just wondering that it kind of says why, Milgram was doing more kind of science. There's flaws, but he's still keeping the scientific. He was the smartest kid, he's still trying to be scientific.
The other one just wants to be liked.
Wants to be popular. So what's he do? He immediately releases press releases. Everything's like really, has a dramatic flair to it.
The best way to be liked is to be submissive and meek, like me. You should take a page of my book.
There you go. So anyway, John,
wow.
Those are the two.
Amazing.
Eric, I hope we've done you proud talking about these. Thank you for writing in and setting me straight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we do. I guess this is human number 2 signing off.
And this is human number 1. Thank you again, everyone, for listening. Eric, we will be reaching out for your mailing details. And happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
And as I'm watching this, as you get ready for the Christmas time, for your intro to Anthro fan in your life.
Yeah, look at you. You're a good model for that t-shirt.
Look at that.
Look at that.
We have Puppies Not Piranhas, friendship bracelets. We have coffee mugs and t-shirts on the Cafe Press site for the Two Humans Caveman shop. And don't forget your Watson and Company socks.
Oh,
this Christmas as well.
Do I have a pair on? No, I don't now, but I had a pair on earlier today. They're fantastic.
Anyway, and be sure to check out Media Room and American Karma on Substack. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for listening. Happy holidays. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye, everybody.